This from Fortune.com. Gen Z is at the top of bosses' firing list for being difficult. Just like parents, bosses have their not-so-secret favorites. And when it comes to being managers' pets, the most junior employees in the office are often not selected. Nearly 3/4 of managers find Gen Z to be the most difficult to work with, according to a Resume Builder survey. Many bosses are getting frustrated on a regular basis, with 49% reporting that working with Gen Z was difficult most or all of the time. Only 4% of respondents said it was never difficult to manage Gen Z. As a result of COVID-19 and remote education, it's possible that Gen Zers lack the foundation to be more successful than older generations at entry-level positions, said Resume Builder's chief career advisor, adding that communication skills don't develop as well when we learn and work remotely. Let me say that again. Communication skills don't develop as well when we learn and work remotely. We could just say all skills don't develop as well when we learn and work remotely. Managers also reported problems with perceived lack of effort, motivation, and productivity among Gen Z. The reputation we've gained for quiet quitting, in which workers don't put in more work than is required of the job description, may be to blame for that. Well, this is, I'm sorry to the folks at Resume Builder Survey, but you got this all wrong. You just messed this whole thing up. Because the problem is not Gen Z. The problem is the people you were interviewing suck as leaders. I've got a building full of Gen Z and millennials. Probably 500, 600 of them working here. And they are possibly the best generation we have ever hired. Now, I will tell you a couple of things about them. And if you fall in the Gen Z or millennial, you might want to self-check on this, because you're getting this reputation by these people out here like this Resume Builder survey. So I will tell you that Gen Z is a bifurcated generation, meaning that there are only two kinds, awesome and sucks. They're absolutely horrible, or they're amazing, and they're mission-driven and will charge the gates of hell with a water pistol. And if you get those out of the Gen Z group, and there's plenty of them, you've got some of the best workforce on your team, because they care so deeply, passionately, and they will argue with you which play to run to score, because they want to win the Super Bowl. They don't want to lose. And then there are the participation trophy gathering raised by a helicopter mom whose only professional skill, in a great irony, is Call of Duty. And they've never had a single Call of Duty in real life. And so they're pitiful and they're useless as employees, and you don't want them. But you interview for that. So if you've hired one of the pitiful ones, that's not their fault. You suck at hiring. Your interview skills are horrendous because they're not really good at faking it. They're not good at lying. Boomers can look you straight in the face and make you think they're a thoroughbred when they are an absolute donkey. Absolute. Gen Zers are too authentic to do that. They'll just look at you and go, I want you to pay me a lot, and because you're the boss, I think you suck. And you don't hire that moron. You send them back to their mother's basement. But a Gen Zer that's game on, that is driven, that is missional, they are the best and the smartest on the planet. And let me just tell you, the digital world we live in is native to them. Boomers still trying to figure out how to reset my phone over here, right? A stupid thing breaks. It takes 3 people to keep Ramsey's my technology fixed, because I break it all the time. But these guys, they've had a phone in their hand in their crib And they know how to, their brain thinks this way. You have a tremendous advantage when you get a high quality set of Gen Zs on your team. And so here's the rule of thumb in leadership. I've heard leaders in EntreLeadership for years say, "Oh, the problem is my team. The problem is not your team. You hired them. You're the problem. If you let crazy in your building, it's your fault. If you let lazy in your building, it's your fault." And I've done it. I've let crazy and lazy in the building. And, I've stood on stage and said, "Don't let the door hit you in the butt on the way out." And they put that in the newspaper when I said that. So, but I meant it. I'm fine if you hit the door. If you're here working a job and you're trying to collect a check and you want to quiet quit, we're going to have a loud firing to go with your quiet quitting. We're going to put your little butt on the skids if I can figure out you're here. And all my leaders feel the same way. But on the other side, I'm not going to sit and blame a generation that is brilliant and that cares very deeply, or there are members of the generation that are brilliant and that care very deeply. Man, I've seen some 22-year-olds, some 19-year-olds that will work circles around some of you people that are bitching about this stuff. And so you can't throw them under the bus in my presence. I love this generation. I think they're amazing. Now, I will tell you this. Here's one thing that is completely different about them. And you have to lead this. It requires strong leadership. It requires loving leadership. And they got to know, and let me tell you, two things about them. They cannot stand a lack of authenticity. They can't stand an inconsistent hypocrisy where there's one set of rules for one people, another set of rules for other people. So I live by the same rules in this building that everybody else lives by. And if I can do that, you can too. Shut up and get to work, okay? So they cannot handle the lack of authenticity, so you better plan on being real all the time, and you better plan on being a person of character and a person who cares deeply about the same things that we're all aiming at and caring about. And so they got no tolerance for lack of authenticity or hypocrisy, which I, again, love, because I don't either. I'm just an old redneck hillbilly. It is what it is, and whether you like it or not, it's okay with me. I'm not really taking a poll, So this is what we're doing. The second thing about them is this. They have grown up, and so if you're not a millennial or a Gen Zer, listen to me carefully. Their brains work different because, again, they have grown up with a magic wand in their hand. They don't know a world without a smartphone. The world has always been smart for them. And let me tell you what that does. You got a magic wand in your hand, you push a button, crap shows up on your front porch, right? You push another button, there's the weather. You push another button. I mean, nobody talks on these phones. That's the irony. We text and we email and we Instagram and we do all these other things and we communicate. And so this is the way their brains work. Now, let me tell you what walking around your entire freaking life with that kind of power in your hand does. It makes you think that you can do anything. There's what a psychologist would call an agency that goes with it. They have tremendous agency, this tremendous sense of, I'm not limited, and I don't have to do what you tell me to do. I can go somewhere else. And so they'll hit the eject button on your job and go somewhere else because they don't feel bound by anything because they have this boundless capability in their hand their entire life. The entire database of human knowledge has been in their hand their entire life. Think about that. Where, the guy talking right now used to have World Book encyclopedias that were 10 years old that we did book reports out of. So the data was already 10 years old when we used it, and we had to go look it up in a book, instead of Googling it. It's a different mind. We felt a humility to knowledge. There was a sense of humility to knowledge, and they feel entitled to knowledge, but not in a bad way. But it gives them a strange type of confidence bordering on arrogance sometimes, because they've had so much power in their hand their entire lives. And again, that makes them wonderful if led properly and put in a proper environment where we know what's going on and where we're all on the same page. But if you feel that kind of power and you're in a situation where the leader is inauthentic, is a hypocrite, where the leader is looking down on someone just because of their generation, they're going to hit eject on you. So, let me just tell you, if you want people to be loyal to you as a leader, let me help you with this. You got to be loyal to them first. It never occurs until you first, and if they don't know you got their back, then they're never going to have yours. There's no possibility. And so when the survey reveals that this percentage of leaders, many bosses are getting frustrated on a regular basis, with 49% reporting that working with Gen Z was difficult most or all of the time. That is not the Gen Z's fault. That's the leader sucks. That's the problem. You got bosses, many bosses. Yeah. See, bosses push, leaders pull. This is an EntreLeadership principle. So you got to check yourself, leaders, and make sure you're not being a boss, because Gen Z, they don't do bosses.